Well, so let's start the discussions. We have two friends in the studio and very liberal politicians and seem to be in the bracket of being young politicians. So let's just introduce them. Fred Amankwasa, who is a member of the MPP. Thanks for joining me.
Thank you.
Tried contesting a position, deputy
vice chairmanship.
Okay, first
vice chairmanship position.
Vice chairmanship. Okay. He was not successful.
This time around.
This time around. That's the next time around. All right. So Fred Agbenyo is with the NDC as well. Fred, how are you?
You know I'm considered deputy propaganda secretary.
Oh, he's also contesting for deputy propaganda secretary.
That's right. That's right.
I was asking the answer. What does it mean, propaganda?
It's communication.
Really?
Communication.
So why not communication secretary?
Okay, so let's communicate them this morning. And we know that Muslims celebrated Eid al-Adha over the weekend. And first, Fred, I have to start with you.
Well, it's a hearty celebration for the...
And I see you're even in the mood.
Yeah, I've been in the mood.
Only that you're in your party colors, very biased.
Really, I've been in the mood to celebrate the Eid Adha, and it's been a wonderful experience. We congratulate all Muslims, those who were able to make it to the Hajj, and I'm very happy this time around that we've not had any hitches when it comes to the organization of the Hajj pilgrimage. And so kudos to everyone who was involved, the Hajj committee. I think this time around did a very good job. The Ebola scare was one of my concerns, but I think the authorities in Saudi Arabia had also put measures in place so that they don't get infected people in the kingdom. And so we would wait for those who are not with us, those who had gone for Hajj, and come, and then more celebration will follow.
Well, let me say good morning to our cherished viewers and congratulate our brothers and sisters. I think that once again they have shown good faith that they can celebrate, do things peacefully, and then do things in a mood that embraces everybody. I had some close friends who invited me over Saturday yesterday. And for a moment, I thought I was the one celebrating the thing because I was receiving calls all over the place and just enjoying myself all over the place. It is all good. Like my brother rightly said, I think the Hajj committee this year, really we need to commend them. They've done a very, very great job. So far, we've not had anything. Everybody who was penciled down to go to Mecca was able to go. I'm sure they are still there to be coming back very soon. We want to commend them. We want them to maintain the status quo. Subsequently, we don't hear the things that we heard in the past. People getting stranded, people fighting over several things. I think we need to watch it. And we also want to thank our brothers and sisters, the Muslims. They've been fasting for all this while, they've been praying for this country. And we thank them that they care so much about the country, the peace of the country, the development of the country. We will continue to urge them to continue to pray. We, those of us who are Christians, who will continue to do ours. I don't know if the day what we need to develop the country's peace, when we can coexist. And one thing we are blessed with as a country, we don't care where anybody comes from, we are able to really integrate very well. We are able to relate very well. And for me, is what makes Ghana what it takes. And I think it is really a good thing.
Well, yesterday, that was on Sunday, was Teachers' Day. We had the event also being marked over the weekend. Well, a 36-year-old teacher of the Canton Senior High School in the Upper West region was adjudged to be the overall best teacher, etc. But the focus of our discussion will be the plight of the teachers and how we can make sure the ratio of the teacher to pupil is appropriately equitable, especially in communities where we seem to be having differences in numbers as far as if it's the postings and the lack thereof, etc.
Well, another celebration and another congratulation to another group of people in this country. Teachers are obviously, undeniably, the most important part of our educational system. Unfortunately, however, we have not given them their due. All of us inclusive. I think even the beginning of it was that the teacher's reward is in heaven. And so if your reward is in heaven, you don't get much whilst you live. And that was an unfortunate preamble to the teaching profession. A lot of mileage have been made, but like you rightly said, the teacher-people ratio in this country is woefully inadequate. Unfortunately, because the government is going to IMF, we are being told that teachers should also be sacked
Well,
or retrenched.
I don't think that has been linked to that as
okay.
well.
Well, but we get people, teachers getting letters that their services are no more needed.
A policy has been introduced.
They have actually been given retrenchment letters that their services are no more needed. And this is a profession that we need significant improvement in terms of numbers. So if we look at the situation where teachers are now being entrenched, you demoralize a lot of people, and people don't go in there. Of course, some also have taken advantage of the teaching profession being where people go and then they use it as a platform to launch into the career of their choice. So you have people finishing in university or senior high school trying to get into the teaching profession whilst they go on doing other courses until they get what they want. So it's fluid. People get in and get out. We need to commend them, but we also need to ensure that whatever that they get out of the system is utilized well. Governments over the years have been very, very magnanimous to teachers. I think it's not enough, but it is not just the teaching profession. It's almost everywhere. All the public service and civil servants are all complaining about remuneration. So the teachers will not be out of it when it comes to this. Going into the rural areas especially, where schools are put up without facilities for the teachers, without residential facilities for the teachers, it's a huge bane on how we will be able to attract teachers into these communities. When it comes to the urban centers, the situation is not so dire. But in the rural communities, I bet you, it will be very difficult to have a teacher who would be there thinking about himself, about his family, which school or which hospitals he would have. And so all of us must rise to the occasion and stop a blame game here.
No, we're told that in all, governments seem to have invested in about 26,000 teachers. But the ultimate person who won the award, Mr. Mumuni, also said that the decision needs to be rescinded, and then government needs to make sure it redeploys the non-professional teachers. Now, if we have such a policy in place, how then do we make sure that the gap that is very much evident, especially in the rural part of our country, is so much breached?
Well, I think this is a very serious issue, and we have to look at it very holistically. It is true that we have a deficit when it comes to teacher-people ratio. We don't have a lot of teachers in the system. And let me announce that myself, I'm a trained teacher. I've taught for a number of years before I stopped. When it comes to that, we need to look at it very closely. Now, when was this people-teacher scheme introduced? Far back in the Nkrumah's days, when we didn't have a lot of trained teachers around. We needed people to just hold the fort. So they say, okay, anybody who has some little level of education who could also assist should come on board to come and assist. Ghana is over 50 years after independence. We cannot continue on that path. Teaching is an art. It's a skill you have to acquire. You don't just, it's not enough to go and tell people to pass exams and come out. What do you impart? What do you live with them? The psychology of it. So it's not anything we can just allow anybody at all to do. I think that it was long overdue where you go to a school and you meet an assemblyman with a teacher, then one people teacher taking 6 classes alone. You don't have any trained teacher over there. It doesn't help anybody. So if government has come out with a policy that is saying that, listen, all those of you who are people who have been there for all these years, go back to the training colleges, go back to the universities, go and get that teaching skills and come and teach. I think that we should, all of us rather be welcoming that news. It is not really true that we don't have enough teachers in the country. It is a case that teachers don't want to accept posting to the rural areas. We are told, for instance, I see that came out, that when you come to go to the Volta region, we have SS teachers. You come to Greater Accra, SS.
You mean the saturation?
That's right.
In some areas.
That's right. They pack themselves up here and they don't want to go there. Some of us have made a case that the time has come for us to stop this wholesale posting. When you go to the university, government assists you in the training, they pay part of your fees, you don't pay tuition, what have you. When you finish, you go to look for your job. I think that the time has come for us to say that districts advertise your vacancies. Now let those who have completed training college go through the vacancies and apply. So if the vacancies in my village, Akpafu or Mipasem, and if you apply to that place, you go to where they interview you at that place, and then they recruit you on board. We need to decentralize completely. But where everybody finishes training college and things that automatically must be posted. So people go to wherever the posting is done, they to manipulate the process, and then everybody wants to remain in Accra. Of course, if the opportunity is there for me to remain in Accra, why would I want to go to the village? Why would I want to go and walk miles and miles before I get there? But if it is the case that I have no choice, this is where the vacancy is. So you can put a freeze on maybe Accra. You can put a freeze on the regional capital so that the vacancies available now are in the villages. I am not too sure. Yes, let me congratulate Mr. Mohammed, who won the Best Teacher Award. Mumuni, I have always had a difficulty with this whole thing about Best Teacher, the criteria that is used in selecting who a best teacher is for the whole country. I've always had a difficulty with it. And if you look at all the things that goes with it, I would have thought that, okay, if in a particular year, maybe there's a general examination that is conducted, they say, okay, this so and so district, your student did very well, this amount of money, we are sharing it on your salaries, some kind of motivation for all the teachers, it helps. But to single out one person and say he's the best teacher, if I teach in a GSS, maybe I teach social studies, somebody is teaching mathematics, somebody is teaching English, somebody is doing whatever. How do you determine who the best teacher is? Is it only because I come to school early, I am
but
there,
Fred, is it not for the symbolism of it, that there's a scheme that tends to recognize that teachers work hard enough in this very country, and so at least by the symbolic nature of it, their activities and works and deeds in our society is very much appreciated by the state. Not necessarily that, well, you can't have the same strength of a teacher being in one school and the same strength of a teacher also in another school. And by virtue of that, all of them could be best teachers. That yes, doesn't necessarily
symbolically, yes,
the case.
It's
For example,
okay.
I sit here on TV and I've had experience close to 15 years. But it doesn't mean that I'm here and there's nobody else somewhere who does the same thing or does better than I do.
That's
you get me?
But
I may at some point be awarded for certain things, and indeed I have been awarded over the years for things I've done. But it doesn't mean that I was the best within the particular period. But it's just for the symbolic.
Yes, for the symbolic it is well and good. But if you look at the financial package that comes with it, for instance, we are told, I think they put up a house for you. You are given a pickup.
I think you're given a car. You're put up a 2 or 3 bedroom. I don't know what he collected this time.
Yes, I don't know. It is good for us to have it, but I am looking at the situation where we can spread it thinly, so that everybody, or a lot more people can benefit from it than to pack it all and give it to one person and conclude it.
Well, first really. Now, it's an interesting point you made. I remember some few years ago. The teacher, the districts, the municipal and metropolitan assemblies, they were supporting individuals, giving them scholarships, etc., to go to school, and then when they come, they're bonded and come back to teach. Sure. Now, how do we tend to rationalize the way we tend to undertake HR training for key or vital sectors? Vis-a-vis, we're talking about health, now we're talking education, and I'm sure if we were prioritizing, we should be prioritizing agriculture, etc. That you went to school in a particular region, a particular district, a particular municipality, you have a need, but you're brilliant enough. So you're sponsored by the particular district, then you're bonded enough to teach for a certain length of time. By the time that you are saying aspirations, by the time your aspirations grow beyond the boundaries of where you're teaching, somebody else would have been in place. How do we tend to rationalize some of these things?
Brother,
so that we don't tend to have a shift in whether the posting is the saturation of posting, etc.
One of the most difficult subjects in any endeavor is the behavioral pattern of the human being. It is difficult, extremely difficult. What do you want to achieve? You want to have a teacher, in this instance, who would impart knowledge on the children. The teacher must be motivated, prepared, willing to do this. He might have all the knowledge to so do. But if he's not motivated enough, by whichever circumstance, he may not impart the knowledge. So at the end of the day, yes, district assemblies may have all these concepts, brilliant as it is. But how do you ensure that if the teacher is not adequately prepared, motivated, he would do it? He might be there in the classroom, but would he impact that knowledge? It's a difficult thing, and I don't have the answers for it. But truth be told, we need to understand that there's a push and pull. We need to put the infrastructure for people to be attracted to these places? Why do we have saturation in areas that you're talking about? Why are people crumbling to be in a particular region or a particular locality when it comes to teaching, and then others are in dire need? Is it because of the facilities? If we concentrate all our resources, all our infrastructure in certain areas or certain parts of the country, then people will be attracted to these places, and then the others will be would be in need.
So your point is,
my point
government
is
should go around building bungalows for
exactly,
teachers in rural communities,
exactly,
and that will serve as incentives.
Exactly my point. We should make
How
sure
is that motivating enough?
Look, when you after all is done, you retire to your room, and if you don't have a place to lay your head, how are you going to even get enough? How are you going to be motivated enough to come to the classroom the following day if you get bed bats and mosquitoes biting you throughout the night?
Fred, how do you juxtapose this very argument you're positing to the fact that the facts, as we have it financially, don't support all these good ideas you tend to enumerate here?
That I disagree.
If you take the financials as it is in the breakdown of our budget, we tend to spend a lot more, the chunk of our budget on the payment of salaries of teachers. And I believe the last time I heard, I was told around between 44 to about 60% is spent not only on the salaries, but also on taking care of some other welfare and some other things of teachers and some other educationists in the sector. It also means that the allocations annually for the education sector in itself is gone before you even think about infrastructure and everything. So how then as a country do we move beyond the subject of what the reality should be and be very much truthful to ourselves and say these are the things that we need to do for teachers?
I'll pick your word, prioritizing. Prioritizing. We give all that money to the teaching profession. This is the percentage that goes into the education sector. What happens? How is it able to help us achieve our objective of impacting knowledge to the children? If it is not, then we are not prioritizing well. Look, the last time I heard, the National Service Secretariat had squandered how much money? Guess how many bungalows? And I'm not talking about grandiose infrastructure. I'm talking about
the basic 2-bedroom, semi-detached.
Semi-detached with even bathroom and toilet facilities outside. Teachers will be comfortable to use it. At least give them some security.
But if you can build it outside, you can build it inside too. So.
Well, so that at least you can, community-based. Ghanaians are not averse to using public toilets, so to speak. So you have a compound, you have a public a compound house with toilets and bathroom facilities somewhere. You have a number of people who use it. I'm not sure teachers will be asking. Teachers are not asking for an arm and a leg. The basic facilities for them to live comfortably and retire to the classroom, retire to their bedrooms when they finish teaching, and even the classrooms. The last time, even chalk. Some teachers are having to use their own money to buy chalk. Some teachers will have to tax the children to contribute before they can get chalk to teach. These are issues that we need to depoliticize and then face it head on. There's a lot we can do. We will keep saying there's no money, but sometimes when you hear the amount of money that is being squandered by individuals, people who do not have any contract with government whatsoever, and the way government is apathetic in retrieving these monies to do something. If you come and tell me, a teacher, that there's no money, so I should live in a thatched house and maybe even not have a place to live. People are posted, and for more than a year, they haven't been paid. Okay? So how do you expect such a teacher, after 1 year, the motivation to even become a teacher would have been wiped off? There's something we need to do, and I think that your word as a nation is what we have to take on board. We have to prioritize the needs of this nation.
Now, he's been very emotional about the subject, but it's also because it's a crucial subject for many people. You have teachers who perhaps may die for the profession because that's what they love. They will be situated in a certain part of the country for the whole of their lives. They will have children, and their children also will have aspirations, etc. How do we make sure that when we say we need to prioritize, the prioritization also needs to be taken into cognizance with what the other needs of the other sections of the economy also need?
Well,
because we have health, we also have agriculture.
Yeah,
I
think that I share most of the concerns my brother has raised. I don't think that the money that is allocated to the educational sector is necessarily not enough. I think that we are not using the money well. So that if what they are giving to the educational sector now is being utilized very well on priority areas, I think that should suffice.
But where should the priority come from? It shouldn't be more of a leadership and a government and a policy.
Exactly the point I'm coming to.
On direction basis.
You see, there are a lot of things that we have ignored as a people. Social capital, you are not making good use of it. When I was a young boy in my village, anytime I heard government wants to come and put up any structure in the village, the only thing government comes with is maybe it's roofing sheets. Then the next thing they come with cement. The labor was done by the community members themselves. Our mothers were carrying stones.
So you're saying
our fathers were doing
artisans.
We need to go back to that start. At a point I was very uncomfortable when, for instance, I was okay, let's remove schools under trees, let's build concrete blocks and stuff like that. And look at the budget for a single school. I sit back and I say, if we could engage
and the procurement process that it has to go through, and the money that's lost at the end of the day,
right?
Through,
I asked
through
myself,
some other inordinate means.
That's right. If we could engage the labor of the community members themselves, that money should be enough for us to be 2 or 3 more schools within that same community. So why
that is if the thing was supervised by the community?
That's right. The community will supervise, the chief is involved, the assemblyman is involved, the unit committee members, they are involved. The people see the school as their property. They want to own it. So they'll be more than willing to go and carry the stone, carry the sand.
How do you link that to the financial seepage we seem to be witnessing currently? And we've been talking about this for decades. I mean, it's not as if this is going to be...
Yeah, that is why I said it's not as though the money we are putting in there now is not enough. It is because we are not using the money well. We are told in the educational that ghost names, this whole issue about ghost name, I have been hearing it when I was a boy, and I'm sure it existed before I was born. It is still there up to date. Recently, some statistics came out. The educational ministry, the education alone, GES alone, we have about 40,000 teachers and drivers. Then I ask myself, how many vehicles do we have for GES for them to have that number of drivers? I sincerely want to believe you go and check. Some of the people does not exist. I used to teach at Mamprobi. Now they come and put up a school structure. One office for the head teacher. Then the classroom blocks. The teacher who is over there doesn't have a staff common room. We sat on the corridor. If you have to eat, lunch, we are eating.
So you as a teacher, was that demotivating enough?
Of course, yes.
Even in an urbanized community?
I'm telling you, here in Accra, Mamprobi. So I don't feel comfortable to sit in the school and eat. I have to walk some distance to go and eat. The time I'm supposed to be around to help the children to learn that I'm doing something else somewhere. I think that we need to. I agree when you say for the teacher's bungalow. What does it take to have a small place for a teacher in a village so that when he's posted there, it doesn't need to go and stay in another village, be commuting from one village to another village because there's no place for him to lay his head. Teachers also have children. They also want to have their children going to the best of schools. So if you take him to a village somewhere where at the end of the examination period, they come out, only one student passes, no teacher want to leave their children over there. So I would prefer to live in a district capital somewhere, every day coming from there to a village somewhere, go and teach and come back. So the time I have to spend with the children is limited. So really, there are issues. And I cannot say again that is because we don't have a lot of money. It is because those who are supervising and managing and doing the things they're supposed to do, maybe are not doing it very well.
Then we come back to the subject of prioritization. Now, we know that currently the allowances have now been scrapped for the teachers.
Teacher training colleges.
Well, for the teacher training colleges. There's even been the one-part argument that is going to be demotivating enough to encourage a lot more people to attend. But we've had the argument for the pros, so to speak. We've been pumping money in all this, giving allowances to the trainees, and we're hoping that will also motivate them to be posted to other areas, that is, or start off from that very point in life. How do we make sure, as we're pumping money in there, at the end of the day, we don't go creating the scenario we've been creating for the last 50 years, where teachers are posted to a certain area, despite going through the college system, having collected all the allowances, having been spent on by the state. At the end of the day, they don't get motivated enough to serve in the communities in which initially they would have loved to serve.
I go back. People's behavioral pattern is difficult to manage. It's a very difficult subject to manage. But as a nation, I think that we haven't planned well. We don't have a long-term planning. What we do is knee-jerk reaction. We react as the situation demands. And anytime you do that, what you have done is to just shift the problem to another time. All these issues, right from beginning, that, okay, this is a nation that needs teachers, so let's have people, let's support the teacher training. And so we give them some money. People go into the teaching profession probably not because they really wanted to, but because while they are learning, they will gain some money. Okay, so even as a student, you still be able to get some money to survive. Then when you finish, it becomes a problem to even accommodate you. Meanwhile, when you were going to school, when you were provided for, accommodation was given to you free of charge. You had dormitories, and then you had some money to spend on yourself. You complete. Your parents and your community is also looking up to you. You cannot go back to your parents and say, "Give me money to feed myself," and then for years you are not being paid. Also, I would not sit here and postulate all the answers. We don't have all the answers, but as a nation, we need to take our priorities right and do the right thing.
Okay.